Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to our Dover Campus Junior School Open Day webinar. We are delighted that you are making time to join us today. We will get started in just a few minutes. We're going to give our attendees a few minutes to join this webinar successfully, and then we will get underway. In the meantime, I would like to invite you to watch a day in the life of our Dover Junior School. Thank you. Hello again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I think we're about ready to get underway. I know we will still have some attendees joining us in the next few minutes, so welcome aboard. So my name is Malika Ramdas. I'm Director of Admissions at the college, and I will take the next few minutes to just tell you a little bit about today's webinar program and to go through some guidelines for today's event, as well as then to introduce you to our learning leadership team at Dover's junior school. So as you know, this year we are offering a combination of open day events, with some being the virtual webinars such as today's, but also the opportunity for you to come and visit our campuses in person. So thank you to those of you who have already signed up to attend our junior school on-campus event, which will take place this Friday, September 23rd. I know that unfortunately, because of overwhelming demand, we did have to close registrations for our on-campus event. But please rest assured, if you are one of those who were not able to register in time, we will be in touch with you to let you know when you can come onto campus for a tour as well. So on to today's program then. So we will be kicking off with this quick welcome and introduction. And then we will move into the Learning Leadership Program, which will be presented to you by our principal and vice principals in the primary school who oversee the junior school. That's grades 2, 3, 4, and 5. That will be approximately 30 minutes, and then you will have the opportunity to ask them questions. So that will be a Q&A session with our educators, and that will be moderated by my colleague who is our head of business and marketing. And then we will finally move into a moderated admissions question and answer session where I will be joined by some of my colleagues in admissions. And that's when you can ask us any questions you have related to admissions. So I would like to request everyone to take a quick look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, where you will find the Q&A button, and that is where we will invite you to submit your questions for the different question and answer sessions. Do keep the focus of your questions in the first Q&A session on the learning program and the student experience, and save your admissions questions for the last part of the program this afternoon. I also want to mention that today's webinar is being recorded. And so if you're not able to stay through till the end, or if you know of others who would be interested in learning more about our junior school on the Dover campus, please do encourage them to check out the recording, which will be posted on our website soon after this session, as well as it'll be mailed to you. You will get a link to the recording in the follow-up communication. So with that, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to our Dover Junior School team. We have our primary school principal at the Dover campus, Brian Omweloen, And he is joined by our two vice principals of the junior school, Alison Zima and Erin Belleville. So over to you, Brian.
Hello, everyone. So good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you're coming from. I just want to add my welcome to today's open day. We have a few things to get through first, and we really want to leave some time for your questions at the end. So please keep putting those questions into the Q&A feature at the bottom, as Malika described. So yeah, there is my name. So it's a Gaelic name. It comes from Ireland, and it's Uwcsea. But as a sign that we are a very caring and empathetic school, the kids get to call me Mr. O. So that's little girl there in the middle with the big smile. That's actually my daughter Maeve. She's my youngest. She's now going into grade 10. And I have a son who's just finished grade 12 and a daughter who's doing her master's at in university in the UK. All three went through this school. All three had different teachers on their teams and a whole different array, and they all loved it so much. It really is a career when you come through this school. So we know that you're looking at junior school today, and we hope we might see some of you on Friday. But we also know that you're choosing a school for the long term often. So we'll talk a little bit about, as it turns up, as it comes up, we'll talk a little bit about what happens as we go through the school. So can I just introduce you first to the vice principals? So there's Ali and Erin, so they will speak to you later. They're both from Canada, so I'll let them introduce themselves later. So I just want to talk a little bit about the one of the things that bothers parents or that concerns them a little bit, especially if they're coming from smaller schools, is the size of this school. And I just wanted to show you, we have we split the school into primary school, middle school, and high school. And the primary school is split within that between infants and juniors. So, and we really, we don't ignore the fact that we're a big school. We address that head on, and we create a situation. We say to the kids that they're like a bird in a nest, in a branch, in a tree. And of course, they're very proud of that fact. They love that they're in, you know, in grade 2 or grade 3, but they're also very proud of the fact and love the fact that they're going home on the bus with older kids. They're seeing older children all the time. They love that their siblings are here or have gone through here, and very much they love the fact that we're part of a movement. So it's very much a forest of trees as well in many, many ways. So we are aware that we're big, and we make every effort to make sure that we're not big and scary. So the kids feel very protected and cocooned in their own classrooms and in their own grade levels. So I know as you're looking at schools, and we're not the only ones you're looking at probably, thank you for looking at us and for considering us. We are, I'd like to talk a little bit about in what ways we are the same as lots of good schools, because you're all coming from schools. And in many of the ways that you would expect, we're the same as lots and lots of very good international schools. And so the transition for your child is usually very easy. So we have a 5-day week, 8 periods in a day. So there's 40 periods in a week. 30 of those periods are spent with one classroom teacher, in which they do what we call the core curriculum with one classroom teacher. So literacy stroke English, science, social studies, mathematics. And then obviously one of the major roles of the classroom teacher is personal social education as well. And then for the remaining roughly 10 periods, they have specialist teachers for art, music, their chosen language, and which one am I leaving out? Art, music, and PE. So they have PE, music, art, and languages with specialist teachers. And that's their week. So the vast majority of their week, very like any other school that you're coming from, is based on the academics. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we approach the academics later. So in what ways are we different? So we really, I think the best way to explain how we're a bit different is by showing you this graphic. Next slide, please, Ali. So we split our program. We think of our program as being containing 5 different major elements. So the academics, personal social education, activities, outdoor education, and service. And we say and we believe that all of those 5 elements are equally important, They don't, that does not mean, however, that they get equal time. They don't need equal time. The academics part of it is by a country mile, the most time and the most expensive. It gets the most budget from us and the most professional development. We try to weave in and out through those things, elements of service, outdoor education, which Erin will talk to you later about, the PSE is interwoven in amongst it. Happy children learn and unhappy children do not learn. And so we spend a lot of time making sure that they're happy. Okay, so, sorry, where am I gone? So yeah, so the academics, we very much, it's a very collaborative system. It's inquiry-based, concept-based learning, which I'll talk to you about. We have a very rounded curriculum, and we believe in the holistic whole child, whatever you want to call it, whole child approach, holistic approach, whatever you want to call it, we really mean it here. And so we are very much into the academics. We understand that part of educating the whole child, of course, must include the academics. So I think one way to show you what we mean by concept-based learning is to show you this video, and I'll stop talking for a minute and I'll come back to you at the other side of this.
What is concept-based learning? Concept-based learning is centered around big ideas. Ideas so universal that they transfer across place, time, and situation. Content is important, so students must acquire knowledge and skills within each discipline. But the ability to make sense of their knowledge and skills in the world around them is just as important. This doesn't happen by accident. Students are given a variety of experiences so that they develop conceptual understandings, significant ideas that transfer to new contexts. This ensures that they thrive in a complex and unknown future. The Uwcsea concept-based curriculum leads to the IB diploma in grades 11 and 12 and is developed from our mission. Our educational goal is that students embrace challenge and take responsibility for shaping a better world. To do this, they must develop higher order thinking skills and apply their learning to diverse situations. Because our community is so international and diverse, our students bring a wide range of experiences, knowledge, and skills with them when they join us. A concept-based curriculum allows them to connect their prior learning to our experiences at school, as well as develop deep understanding. How do we develop conceptual understanding in our students? Concept-based learning goes hand in hand with learners having a diverse and broad range of experiences. This is achieved through all 5 elements of our holistic learning program: academics, activities, outdoor education, personal and social education, and service. We explicitly plan for concept-based learning by asking conceptual questions and teaching through inquiry, exposing students to content that stretches and deepens their thinking, fostering dialogue and collaboration, asking students to generalize and apply their ideas to new contexts. Together, these experiences support the development of conceptual understanding in our students.
Okay, so here's a question. Whose history do you teach when you have approximately 90 nationalities in a school? And that's a question that different schools answer that in different ways. So we're in an international school, and there could be in one classroom, there could be 8, 9, 10 different nationalities sitting in front of you. So international schools all over the world grapple with this question and how do they approach it. And different schools do that in different ways. You have, for example, if you know that you are coming here and you know that it's only going to be for 2 years, by the way, don't be fooled by that. I came here for 2 years in 1994. But if you're very secure in your plans, you might opt to go for a school that's very close to your own national system. And we have schools in this country that do a really very good job of that. So so they pin their colors to their national system, whether that's Australian, British, US. And there are very good schools in town that do that very well. And we don't feel like we can do that. So some international schools then will say, well, we could teach a little bit of everybody's, or we could decide that we're going to be Eurocentric or American-centric, UK-centric. And very much what we prefer to do is to look at this as big ideas. And so we pick an overarching universal concept like migration or conflict, and we find ways at each grade level to illustrate that concept through content. And then we choose the content very, very carefully, because there are some bits of content that are worth knowing on their own right. And so that's how we illustrate an overarching concept. And so it's a universal international school issue, and that's how we approach it. So I'll talk to you a little bit later again about about choosing schools generally, whether you choose this one or not. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Ali. Are you there? Yeah, I'll hand over to Ali and I'll stop talking and I'll see you again later.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're just past noon, so I'd like to add my welcome to you as well. I'm Allison Zemer, and I am one of the vice principals here, as Brian has said, and people call me Ali. So just like Brian, both of my children attend the school and have done since K1. These are older pictures of my kids because they are now 16 and 14. My daughter Riley has started the IB, she's in grade 11, and my son is finishing middle school. So they have come through all the way. And like Brian said, it is a wonderful experience, and they both have had different experiences, but both very much enjoyed them. So on to what I'd like to talk to you about today. So I first wanted to start with an example of what a day looks like in the junior school. So Brian talked a bit about the idea that we have some specialist lessons for music, art, PE, and languages, but the majority of their day is spent with one teacher who's overseeing their day and spends that time with them to make sure they're well and they're happy. Which leads me to what I'm going to spend most of my time talking to you about today, which is the personal and social education, which is a very big part of what primary school teachers do. All teachers, in fact, but in primary school, we feel we're laying that foundation for how children are as learners and what their experience at school will be like. So there again is our learning program, and you can see PSE sits there as one of our 5 elements. But it is unique in the fact that it goes across everything we do. It is in service. You can't do service without learning about yourself and how you're growing. You can't do academics without collaborating at our school and navigating relationships with your peers. We teach conflict management through our outdoor education program and our activities program, self-management definitely through our outdoor education program and academics. And so this is really a foundational time for students in the primary school. So our mission, values, and profile are designed to lead the PSE program. So we design our program around these things and to instill the qualities and skills that we want kids to have while they're in school now, but also as they move through the school at the different stages, and then obviously beyond into the world. What do people need to be like, and what skills do we need to have to navigate the world around us? And it starts here in the primary school. When it comes to PSE, we take a 2-pronged approach to this learning. So we have a planned curriculum, a written curriculum that's K-12 articulated, and it hits all of those key areas that we know students need to learn about at each age level. So what in grade 2 do kids need to learn? What skills do they need to navigate that age? And then as they move through the school, building on those skills. But we also look at it in a responsive way. The other prong is the responsive prong. So what's happening in the world and what's happening in their worlds plays a big part in the things that we're teaching to our students as well. So we're thinking about you know, what happened on the playground today, what's going on in the world, and then we're teaching explicitly skills through that for them too. Okay. One of the ways we create a safe and secure environment for our students is through our primary school expectations. So these are everywhere in our school. When you come on the campus, if you have a chance to come this Friday, you will see them in the primary school in various places. All of the teachers and all of the teaching assistants use these both in a planned way. So teaching explicitly how we can be kinder than necessary on the playground, in the classroom, in our PE lessons, but also in a responsive way. So having restorative conversations when things aren't going as well as we hope they would for certain students, we can use these to frame those conversations. And it gives the students a sense of safety, knowing that the expectations are the same wherever they go in the primary school. And these are our distilled version of the profile and the values and the mission of UWC into our, you know, primary friendly language for our students so they can really understand and engage with them. And finally, I just wanted to give you one example of a way that we explicitly teach PSE. So every week in every classroom, there's a timetabled lesson for a circle time or a circle solutions lesson. And this is a time when classrooms come together on the carpet generally. They sit in a circle or gather, and the teacher gives various prompts, and students are able to share their thoughts, ideas, and experiences around a specific theme or scenario. And this builds trust and community in their classroom and a real sense of belonging. And as Brian said, you know, happy students learn best. And so this is a time where we can help students to sort through whatever's going on in their worlds and build that sense of community for them. All right, that's all from me for now. And I'm going to pass over to Erin, who's going to talk to you about some other elements of our program.
Hello, everybody. So I'm Erin Beliveau. I'm Allie's partner, and I am also a vice principal, and I work in grades 2 and 3. And I think that one of the things that Allie and I would both agree that we really enjoy in our job is that we have the opportunity to roll with the children. So I'm currently the vice principal for grade 2 and 3, but I will stay with those children until they make it to grade 5 and then beyond, and help them to move over to middle school. So they always will have that person that's connected with them that will follow them through the grades. And we also will follow the families through the grades. So Allie and I get that opportunity to form really strong relationships with all of the parents as well and follow their children through. I am also, along with Brian and Allie, a proud parent of a UWC student. So my daughter Scotia started in K1, and she's now in grade 8. And she is definitely somebody who absolutely loves coming to school. I'd say in grade 8, it's a little bit harder to get her out of bed in the morning, for sure. But once we get her here, she's extremely happy. And my husband also does some work in the school. So we're definitely, it's very much a family affair. And we're very, very proud to be part of this community. So I'm going to continue to talk to you about the other elements that are part of our program for you, starting with outdoor education. So outdoor education is definitely something that we're very proud of. It is something that we know helps all of our children to develop and learn in different ways, and gives them a different exposure to things in life that maybe they wouldn't get within the classroom walls. So Kurt Hahn, our founder of the school, firmly believed that having that opportunity to learn beyond classroom was going to really help all children to be able to grow and develop. So the purpose of our outdoor education program is it gives kids an opportunity to connect to nature, a better understanding of themselves, develop healthy relationships with others, and develop new skills. And I can proudly say that our outdoor education program is amazing and outstanding. So Al, if you could just move, thank you. So within the junior school, we have grade level expeditions that the students go on, but it doesn't start in junior school. It actually, our outdoor education program starts in grade 1, where our children get the opportunity to sleep over in their classroom. And then it moves beyond junior school and it keeps going up through middle school and high school until they get to grade 11, when they have the opportunity to go out into project week, where they plan the whole trip themselves and they go off out into parts of Asia and they have wonderful experiences. So within the junior school, in each grade level, the students have an opportunity to go to different places and try different things, such as practicing their survival skills. They may do some climbing, they get to do building of fires, pitching tents, river tracing, snorkeling, etc. So this picture here is one that gives you a little bit of a picture of our dedication to outdoor education in our school, because on the left is Gopeng, Malaysia, pre-COVID, and on the right is Dover campus during our COVID times. So we definitely took all of the elements of our outdoor education program and we recreated it here on campus in an area where we had to because of the restrictions. And then we're now proudly able to say that we think that we're going to be able to move beyond and go back out to our trips where children will go beyond our borders. We have not fully committed to being able to do that because we are still looking at the risk assessment and making sure that we can offer safe trips. And if we're not able to offer them the safe trips that we need to, then we'll hold off until we know that we're ready. But we really feel like we're at the point now where it's going to be able to happen for us. So we're very excited. The outdoor education team is also planning some trips within Singapore for our grades 3, 4, and 5 to give them an opportunity to sleep over somewhere in Singapore before they would travel beyond. So we're really looking forward to that opportunity for them. Thanks, Allie. So another element is our activities program, something also that we're very proud of. And we say activities is something for everyone. This is opportunities for our children to have experiences beyond the classroom. They have the opportunity to sign up for things such as netball or Chinese calligraphy or chess or rock climbing. Some of the activities are provided by outside agencies, and then the others are provided by our teaching staff or just our staff in general. And so throughout the years of your child being at this school, if you were to choose to come here, they'd have the opportunity to be involved in many things. There's 4 seasons of activities every year, which gives them lots of choice and lots of opportunity throughout the years to try everything, a little bit of everything for them. And then finally, our final element, and one that we are definitely proud of, and we do feel maybe sets us apart from other international schools, is our service and sustainability program, which encompasses our students having the opportunity to do some type of service within the college level. They also can do service outside within Singapore in our local services. And then they also have an opportunity to support a global concern, something beyond the borders of Singapore. So within the service program, the children are involved in age-appropriate activities, depending on the year they are in, and they have an opportunity to figure out ways that they can help parts of our community. So at our college level, it could be that they're going to be helping with canteen cleanup. They may be responsible for helping with our campus gardens. They may be a reading buddy for another class. Moving on to our local level, they could be involved in going out into Singapore and doing a beach cleanup possibly, or maybe having an outside agency come into the school and we would provide some support with them here. And then the other is that each grade level, it supports a global concern, an NGO in other parts of Asia. And there we do a lot of fundraising to help these more vulnerable communities. And I think that the best thing that the children get from any of their service opportunities is the ability to develop empathy for all of the people that we're interacting with. So there are many people around the world who have wonderful things that they're able to do, wonderful talents and abilities. And by having our children go out and meet these people or research these groups of communities that we're certainly learning a lot from them and seeing the value in everybody that we're interacting with. So, and then our last thing is, if you can, thanks so much. So thank you so much for listening to us about the elements of our program that we're very proud of. And now we're going to give you an opportunity to listen to the students, because really we want, it should be students' voice that is important. So this is a video that we've created, and I was part of the creation, and I'd like you to know that this is not anything that was practiced. We went around and gathered up children and we said, oh, you like to talk, let's get together, and we asked them a few questions, and this is what they've come up with. So please enjoy, and then after the video, Brian will come back to you. Thanks very much for listening.
I like learning math here, and because they teach it in a really fun way. And I think language is also really fun. But my favorite subject is PE.
I also learned reading. Yeah, reading's one of my favorite at grade 3.
And also reading comprehension, like how to understand the words inside the words to find out the meaning.
I learn a lot of stuff like Blue Planet, the greenhouse.
Well, I love the climbing frame because I love to climb, and PE is also a lot of fun because I like to be outdoor a lot.
All of the kind people in our school. After school activities.
I actually like the art classes a lot because right now we're doing the clay.
I think it would be me and my brother being together. I like how it's one of the biggest schools in the world.
The teachers are amazing. They're really nice, really kind, and they can teach that way and also let us have a lot of fun.
They're great, they're a lot of fun and really nice.
Helpful and funny. Kind.
Really kind and funny.
They also help you. Even if it's not something that your class is doing, they'll help you individually.
In UWC, there's this buddy system where basically, like, we arrange people to play with the new kids, and when I joined in grade 1, it really helped me a lot.
It would be to learn how to solve the Rubik's Cube, because once you learn how to solve that thing, everyone's attracted to you. And that's pretty much it.
Yes, that cracks me up every time. So thank you. I hope that was all very informative. We really want to give you lots of time for questions, so please keep putting those questions into the Q&A if you have any questions about anything we've said or that you've heard today or generally. I really just have one or two more things to say. I think the first important thing to say is that it really is the students who make us, who give us the reputation. We're lucky we have a very good reputation in the region. And honestly, it very much is the students who give us that. What we're good at as an institution is giving them time and space and budgets and those kinds of things. But all the things that we're proudest of actually come from students. Student-driven and student-led. And the other piece of advice I want to give you as you look through this school on our website, or if you're here on Friday, or as you're looking at any other school, we have the most amazing facilities. We have rooms with green screen, like you can see there. We have, underground recital rooms, Olympic-sized swimming pools, gymnasium, all those kinds of fantastic facilities. And they're impressive. But I would really advise you not to be impressed by them. Going back to the, coming here for 2 years thing, if you had a choice, and it's a very simple little thing to think about, but if you had a choice between going to a so-called good school, but that the teacher in that room is very bad for 1 year, or going to a so-called bad school where the teacher is outstanding in that room and everyone talks about that teacher, which one would you choose? So it's a pretty easy answer. It's very, very much the teachers who make this school what it is and who make any school what it is. So if you're here on Friday, or as if you're looking through our website, honestly, we're just scrolling through some images there of the different things, the different facilities. Like, these facilities give the teachers a fantastic canvas in which they can provide an outstanding program. But really, without the teachers, it's not that great to have these facilities, and you can figure those things out in different ways. So it really, it's not the principal, it's not the leadership, it's not any other of the departments. It really is the teachers who make it. So watch out for the teaching if you're here on Friday. I think there's 1 or 2 more images, and then I'm going to introduce you to Kate Woodford, because we very much want to give you time for your questions. So we'll have a look, and I'll hand over to you, Kate.
Thank you so much, Brian, and thank you everyone for attending today. Really love the questions that are coming through, and I'm looking forward to asking those of the 3 of you actually for the next 20 minutes or so. Can I please start with the academic curriculum, I guess, and we've got a couple of questions with regard to this that I'll try and group into one. How do we, as a big school, offer a personalised education for each of our students? Because despite the size, we do offer a personalised education and experience for each student. How do we do that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great question, and it's a question, again, that often comes our way. That is really what we would call in education like differentiation, or customized learning. And there are different ways to achieve that. Very often when parents ask that question, quite often what they mean is, do we differentiate the content? So are we giving harder stuff and easier stuff? So, and often it isn't about just that, and we do that, but often it's about differentiating the product and differentiating the process and differentiating the environment in which the kids can work. We have, for example, a fantastic learning support department. We have an EAL, English as an additional language department as well, who help the children. We have in every room in grade 2 and grade 3, we have a teaching assistant in every classroom along with the teacher. And so we have the ability then to work with individual kids and to have people working with individual kids. So it's very much an as and when. We do pre-assessments often to find out who are the kids this year who don't fully understand this or who have a misconception, and we work on them in that way. And we do a lot of what they call AFL, assessment for learning, and in the minute assessments where the teacher will basically change the direction of his or her teaching based on what they're seeing in front of them. So we group them, we work in pairs, we work individually. We're very conscious here of the introverted child as well, who doesn't always like working with a big group, or who likes to work on his own first and then with a big group, that kind of thing. We're very conscious of it. It's not easy, and but we're very conscious of it all the time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Brian. And that leads me to another question, actually, with a number of parents have asked, and you answered it a little in the answer just then, but could you tell me how many students per class, and how many, what's the student teacher ratio, or how many teachers would they see in a week, perhaps?
How many? Okay, there's a few questions in there.
There's 2 questions, the number of students per
That's
class.
fine. So, I mean, the quick answer to how many teachers they would meet in a week is, I think, 5, because they have their classroom teacher, and then they have a teacher for, say they choose Spanish or they choose Chinese, they have a teacher for that, PE teacher, art teacher, music teacher. So that's really the core that they will have every week. And then in some classrooms there might be a teacher teaching. So for example, Aaron and Ali teach in another classroom. They teach maths in another classroom. So and other than that, then there's all kinds of specialist teachers and learning support teachers and counselors and all kinds of things going around. How many in a class? There are 24 children in each class. In grades 2 and 3, there is a teacher and a teaching assistant in every classroom. And in grade 4 and 5, we purposely phase that out. We still have teaching assistants, but not one in every class. So there would be one, say, for 2 classes that's shared. what am I leaving out, guys? There's all kinds of
That's
help.
the future librarian in the primary school.
Yeah, I mean, the student teacher ratio is a hard one to answer because there's so many professionals working, but like in some ways there's 24 kids for one classroom teacher, but in grades, grade 2 and 3 there's also an assistant. We have we have other learning support assistants coming in. We've all kinds of different people. We also have parent volunteers. So we kind of, the student teacher ratio is more of a macro number than 1 to 24.
Yes, that's exactly right. I remember when I write the annual report each year, I think it's about 10.3 to 1 on both campuses, actually. So thank you. Can I just move off the numbers and things and get into the languages? There's a lot of questions with regard to the options for languages and which options, and are they elective, or do we say that you need to take a particular language? Could you explain the language program in the primary school, please?
Anyone want to? I can keep talking. People will get bored listening to me.
I don't mind. I can hop in here and then you guys can pitch in as we go. But in the junior school, we have 3 options. We have French, Spanish, and Mandarin, Chinese. And that starts in grade 2. In the lower years, they have just Spanish and Chinese in grade 1. And before that, just the Mandarin. And so we have 3 options, but you can't always begin a language every year. So in grade 2, you can start in French. Grade 2, 4, 6, it goes evens. And then the odd years you can start in Spanish. So 1, 3, 5. And it's a choice. We don't decide for you. You decide as a family what language you'll go into. Chinese is the really only language that has the like mother tongue first language program. For Spanish and French, we have beginners and continuation. Do you want to add to that at all, Erin or Brian?
We would also, along with that, have our EAL program. So we have English as an additional language for those students who would need it. And as well, we may have students who need additional learning support. So perhaps they wouldn't participate in a language, but they would be getting the support that they need for their academics. And then we also have an amazing home languages program, which families can opt into, where they can basically learn about any of their languages of choice. And this is something we're very proud of. In the last few years, we've really been able to include a lot more languages into the program, but that opportunity is at lunchtimes and after school, as opposed to during the school day.
Great, thanks, Erin. That's very helpful. And can the students change each year if they really want to start a new language? If they start Spanish and then they think, oh, that's actually not for me, can they switch the next year?
There is flexibility. Oh, sorry. There is flexibility with families, but of course we wouldn't encourage them to be moving around to all of them. We would like them to give it a try, but families are the ones who, for the most part, have the final say in that part of it.
Great, thank you.
I don't know if Brian wanted to add to there.
Well, where that happens quite commonly, Kate, is where you have, say, a family has switched into French from Chinese, and then they discover that they're leaving the country and they've got a new job, and that's going to be in, say, the US, and they're going to be doing Spanish. And so they'll say to us, actually, can we switch into Spanish? We might as well do a year of Spanish before we leave. That kind of thing happens. But generally speaking, people stick to their language as much as they can. But I think something like 70% or 73% of the kids do Mandarin Chinese.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for that insight. And because we are now talking about something related to the activities program, the home language program, which Erin, you just mentioned, perhaps we could just move on to the activities program. We have a lot of questions about that as well. How often do they take place, and what sort of options are there for children? How often can they participate each week in the activities program?
I can do that.
Start.
No, go. This is one we all know a lot about. So our activities program runs every day, and as well there would be opportunity on the weekends to participate. There are 4 seasons in an academic year, so the students, it's about an 8 or 9 week block for each activity. through each of the seasons, and there's 4 seasons throughout the year, so the students can sign up. Some of the activities are a paid activity because it's been provided by an outside agency, and then other ones are free to the children. And the children are able to choose. We'd like them to do a maximum of 5 activities per season. So it gives them a lot of opportunity and flexibility for them to choose what they'd like. And we also do our best if they're really keen to get into an activity. For example, Minecraft is a very sought after activity. If they're not able to get into it in season 1, then we can do our best to help them to be able to be in it in season 2 or 3. So we can give them some support with that. So.
Great, thank you, Erin. And with regard to sports and sports teams, what sorts of sports are available, and what is the priority? How many teams do we run? Do we have the opportunity for kids to learn the sport and to be part of a team, and how do we run the representative sports program here?
I don't know a lot about the representative necessarily, and so maybe Ali and Brian could step in with there. But in the junior school, students are able to be involved in like netball or swimming or gymnastics. There's lots of different programs. The gymnastics and swimming ones would activities are the ones that would be more of the competitive nature, I believe, more so than the others. And then when they get up into the middle school, then they'd be moving into the higher competitive levels and having an opportunity to compete against different schools.
Great.
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit to that, because there are opportunities for recreational and sports teams in the primary school. So like Erin said, gymnastics can be competitive, but it can also just be recreational. And same for the swimming. You could try out for the competitive team, or you can just take it as a recreational sport. And so the idea being that everyone can participate in the primary school. Anyone who wants to participate can participate. And then there's representative teams that can be tried out for as well.
Fantastic, thank you. Really appreciate your answers there. I know that there is a bus that takes the students home after the activities program, so I'll just answer that question myself, and that the school bus leaves at 3 and then it leaves after the activities program is finished as well. That was a particular question we had. Can I just also move on to a little bit more about logistics? We have the buses, but what about the lunches and how does that work for students? Can they purchase it themselves, or do parents order it? And what sort of choices do they have?
Yeah, so different parents do different things. So you can purchase lunch at school. You can pre-order in some grade levels. Grade 5 can purchase their lunch, actually purchase it day by day. Some families send in the packed lunch every day. Some families put in a packed lunch 2 days and order 3 days. Sometimes kids say, I really like that particular thing on Wednesday, and they only order on Wednesday. You can pre-order. It gets delivered to the classroom in the lower grades, and then in grade 4 and 5 they eat in the canteen.
Fantastic, thank you. So I have another question here. We are a big school, as you mentioned, and we go from K to 12. Do the primary school students have an opportunity to interact with older students in the middle and high school at all? And what sort of opportunities are they?
Yes, and now that COVID is over, we actually are back doing that. So we put a huge premium on that. So what's great is that because the school is so large, we have to roster the playtimes. And so when we're in class, sometimes the high school kids are on their long lunch. And so they'll come in sometimes and do buddies with us, with reading buddies, those kinds of things. They do service in our part of the school at times. We sometimes present to them. They sometimes do things together as student councils. So we, as much as possible of that we can do, we do it. Respecting the fact that the high school are in a kind of a high stakes part of the school in terms of their own exams and exam success, but we love that, and it's been one of the major missing pieces because of COVID. So we're very delighted that that's coming back. We have buddies with the boarding house as well that we tried to set up, and that all got delayed because of COVID as well. So it was we're just very glad to have those things coming back.
I saw some photographs of some of the students, some of the boarding students with their buddy classes just this morning, and it looks just like everybody's having a fantastic time. It's so nice to see that's back.
We use it. We use it as a ploy, right? So if we want to get some kids to do some writing and they won't write for their teachers, they will write if they know the high school kids are going to come and look at it.
That's very strategic, Brian. And I understand there is actually a way that the home language classes actually have the home language high school students come and interact with them too at some point in the year, which is just lovely.
Yeah.
And the same with the sports teams, actually. So
yeah.
Can I just ask, you mentioned before something to do with exams. Are there any exams in the primary school? And what sort of assessment do we provide for the parents to know how their child is doing? Anyone?
I'm looking at you, Ellie.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. I think the most important thing is the assessment we use is in-time assessment, so that teachers know exactly where the kids are and can move them on in their learning. And that's where we put the majority of our time and effort, is into being able to individualize their learning. So we need to know all the time where kids are at. So we're assessing all the time. But if we're thinking about how are we feeding back to parents about where their kids are at, we have several reporting points during the year where we would give that feedback to parents through parent-teacher conferences and report cards. We do a couple standardized type tests, which are more about giving us information as a school about where we stand kind of in the international world, to benchmark ourselves against other schools that are similar. But parents do get that as a report, so it gives them a bit of a benchmark of how their child is in the world as well. But I think the most important information that parents get is that information from teachers, what's happening in the day-to-day and how are they doing with our curriculum here. And that comes through, like I said, parent-teacher conferences and report cards. And anytime a parent would like to meet a teacher, they'd be more than happy to sit down and talk about where their child is at. But as far as formal exams, it's not really how we run in the primary school. We leave that till they're a bit later, but we're always assessing.
So it's assessment rather than exams and meeting them where they are. So I've got time for 2 or 3 more questions only. Can I just ask, what sort of opportunities are there for students who to do leadership kind of roles and help on the campus? What sort of voice do the students have in terms of how the school is run for them in their classroom, but also in maybe the primary school?
Yeah, so actually one of the a meeting that I'm missing right now because of this webinar is the first meeting of the junior school student council, which is just starting today. So that's one representative body. We are hugely into giving children voice, and that's a massive thing all the way from K to 12. And if you imagine that on an X and Y axis of student-led versus teacher-directed, obviously it's more teacher-directed as they're younger, and then that just becomes more and more student-led and less teacher-directed as they get older, to the point that when they're in high school, and it all leads to that, they really are very independent in doing that. So down in this part of the school, then, you know, helping around campus, that's all really part of our local and college service program. And so it's that kind of student leadership that we allow. We have all kinds of, you know, buddies and playground buddies. What else, guys? Student council is the more formal one, but there's lots more opportunities.
There's global concern executive as well, where students sit similar to student council and have a say in the global concerns and how they're raising money for various things. There's grade level global concerns where every grade level has a concern that they work towards, but a certain number of kids would sit on that committee deciding what the initiatives would be for each grade as well.
Sorry, Ali, could you just explain what are the global concerns, like what the organizations?
Yeah, so
that's more of a UWC term, I think.
Yeah, so Erin talked a little bit about service and the global services. So in the primary school, we build it right into the curriculum in the day for every child. So every child takes part and learns about global concerns. So an NGO. In grade 2, it's Tabitha, which is a Cambodian service. In grade 3, it's Water Warriors, where they're looking at providing sanitation and clean water in various countries. In grade 4, they do Bali Bridges, which works with schools in Bali. And grade 5 does Temple Garden Foundation. So each grade has a concern that they're attached to. And then the kids would think about, how are we going to raise money? What is the money for? They present to the grade about how much they've raised and what they're going to get with that, where that money is going. So the kids have a kind of a view of where their donations go.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I've got a couple of quick questions. Homework, how often do the kids have homework and what's the expectation?
So that's a quick question.
With a long answer, sorry.
I'm not sure it can be. So we do give homework. We're very much biased towards reading, though, as kind of the so-called homework. It's very difficult to define homework. What we do know is that reading is the key, absolute key to everything. It's the key across every subject, and it's the key to success in learning in anything. And so we're very keen to push that. Written product homework, as they get into grade 4 and grade 5, it becomes more common than it would be in grade 2 and grade 3 in an instance. We feel like they have a very long day, so we do give homework here, but it's very much if it's going to add to the learning, and we don't tend to give homework just because you're supposed to give homework every night.
Fantastic. I think that's probably a very welcome answer. Thank you, Brian. Okay, so this one is a quick question. How many times a week do the students visit the library, and how many books can they borrow at a time?
Well, sorry, Brian, I'll go. Every class has a scheduled time in the library where they would interact with the teacher librarian, but kids can go to the library every break and every lunchtime. And I believe they're allowed 10 books now at any one time. And so that's a lot of books, right? And they can bring them and change them every day if they wanted to. There's a lot of access to the library.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Thank you. And last question, in terms of the opportunities for parents to come and support their student in the school, what sort of things are open for parents? Because Brian, you mentioned that parents are very welcome in the school, but what sort of things do they come in and do?
Our parents have the opportunity to come in to volunteer within the classroom. So they could be coming in possibly to be a mystery reader, which happens in a lot of our classrooms, where they get to come in with a surprise book for their child in the class, and everybody is excited to see them. We also have parents who come in and help with our iTime projects, which are where the children are given the opportunity to basically study and research anything they would like. And so it can be a little bit busy in the rooms where kids are working on many projects. And so we like to have parent volunteers come in as well to assist with that. They're also welcome to come in. Sometimes we'll have cooking days, so we would invite them in. We would also have parents come in for like counseling coffee mornings if they would like to. So there's opportunity for them to come in and interact with each other as well, whether it's inside the classroom or just within the school.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Erin. I can speak for myself when I know that it's been lovely to see parents back on campus, and it's been fantastic to see the community coming back together again this year. So thank you. Malika, do we have time for one more question?
Just one more.
Just one more. Okay. So I'm super sorry, but this is not a short question, but it is actually a very good question. In terms of the learning program, can we just talk a little bit about what sort of influences went into creating that bespoke concept-based program? Would we say it's more aligned with the UK or the US, or how did we put that together? What are they being prepared for as well?
Yeah,
I guess
it's probably a different answer for different subjects. I think we look at, because of what I described earlier, we look for overarching concepts in order to put our learning together. So if you take something like, so we look at something like interdependence, we looked at like what content could you use to illustrate interdependence in systems? And so looking at, for example, it didn't really seem to matter where you looked. You look at UK, we looked at Ontario, we looked at Tasmania, we looked at Common Core, we looked at all kinds of different things. And it seems to be true that either grade 4, grade 5, grade 3-ish people seem to do the human body all over the world, because that's a piece of content that's, I'm just giving you one example, Kate, because this, we spent about 7 years doing this, so I'm not going to be able to answer, but that's just one illustrative example that we would say, like, it seems to be that all over the world they would be doing human body around that age. And so, for example, so in our school, we've got that in grade 4, and very much the overarching concept is that interdependence of systems, but also knowing about the human body is a piece of valuable content in itself. And so were we influenced? We were influenced a lot by Common Core, but we would tweak it for maths. PSE, I think, was very much Irish. Actually, we basically looked at, like, if you look at religious schools, for example, they're really, really good at pastoral ideas and pastoral care. And so we took ideas from everywhere. But it seems like we know that as you go through a whole cycle of schooling, there are things, pieces of content that is really kids need to know and need to be able to understand and work with and transfer across. So but we're very much try to codify that by looking at what overarching concepts do they need to know in the different disciplines and paradigms of thought. Yeah.
Great. And can I just confirm then, in terms of teaching something like maths, it isn't that we actually just teach a Singapore maths curriculum. We actually allow the students to develop their understanding of maths in the way that best suits them.
You know, because we're in Singapore, what Singapore maths is called maths here. We just call it maths.
Well, someone asked me about Singapore maths on the Q&A.
Well, Singapore maths in other countries. So, yeah, so actually, yeah, we have taken bits of Singapore maths into our curriculum, but it's not, look, in terms, like I saw some questions in the chat there about what do we do with, for example, with gifted children, gifted and talented, those kinds of things. And so very much, again, it is about differentiating the product. So a teacher in the classroom who has a child who is diagnosed as gifted, say from an educational psychologist, they know, for example, that it's giftedness in a particular domain. Sometimes that will be, you know, it's a gifted writer, or it's a gifted mathematician, or somebody who has an incredibly detailed understanding and thirst and curiosity in science. And so the teacher in that classroom will have a project that they give to the children, but where the children bring that project is often quite an individual thing. And actually the teacher might accept something from Aaron that they wouldn't accept from Ali, because Ali has this gifted mathematical brain. And so the teacher might say, no, you're doing this other stuff and you're doing this extra, and bring it farther. So we extend horizontally, but you can't only extend horizontally. Sometimes you have to go up to the next level. So it's a very, very complex area really to describe, but it's, you know, we have lots of help. We've had, for example, when we've had children, for example, doing in mathematics, doing a Johns Hopkins online tutor, because the mathematics is so far beyond everyone else's comprehension that we need that kind of extra help. But that's quite an exceptional thing. Generally speaking, our curriculum is leveling to the point that we can say that, you know, that work is not the best that you can do. And so we work on it that way, so differentiating that product for that child.
Right, thank you. Thank you so much. Brian, Erin and Ali, I'm going to release you back to the primary school. Brian, perhaps you'll catch the end of the student council meeting before they make it Free Dress Friday every week. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, and we really appreciate the opportunity to ask these questions of you.
A pleasure, always a pleasure. Yeah.
And I'd like to add my thanks to Brian, Ali and Erin. Thank you so much for the presentation, and also for being taking so many questions and for your thoughtful and honest answers. So good luck with the rest of your day. And with that, we're going to move into the final part of our program for today's webinar, which is the admissions question and answer session. So I'm now going to invite my admissions colleagues to join us. And we'll say goodbye to
Bye,
our
everyone.
learning leadership team.
Bye.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to introduce you to our to my colleagues from admissions and tell you a little bit about this remaining part of the program for those of you who may be joining us right now. So this is actually the final part of the webinar where we take your questions related to admissions specifically. One thing I want to clarify is that we are not offering an actual presentation on admissions during this session. And that's because we already delivered such a presentation called Admissions Explained, which is recorded and available now on our website on the main landing page of the admissions website. It is also a link that was provided to anyone who signed up for our open days. So I hope that if you haven't had a chance to look through that already, that you will make time to do that if indeed you will be pursuing an application for your child this year. So now it's my pleasure to introduce my colleagues who I work with very closely every day. So we've got Katie Phantom, who is our Deputy Director of Admissions, and Katie is going to serve as the moderator of this part of the Q&A. And then we have our two admissions managers from both our campuses. Maria Wee is our admissions manager at the Dover campus, and Ashu Garg is our admissions manager at the East campus. We know that several families are exploring UWC SEA on the whole, and perhaps you may not have made up your mind about whether you would like to apply to just one campus or perhaps to both campuses. And so we welcome your questions related to any aspect of admissions for the next 25, 30 minutes or so. All right, so with that, over to you, Katie, for the first question.
Thank you very much, Malika. And the first question I'm going to ask Maria to answer for us. A family has their child's school reports not in English. I wonder whether you can give some advice to this family about what they need to do with non-English reports.
Thank you for the question, Katie. Now, we do need those non-English reports to be translated and notarized. And we do appreciate that all applications are supported with a full set of reports for the last 2 full academic years and the most recent report at the time when you put in the application. So that will also ease our admissions team and also for any learning team members to review the applications favorably. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Malika, we have a couple of questions around assessments. Some families are just asking what kind of entry tests would there be or could there be for a junior school application?
Sure, I'm happy to address that. So in general, we do not believe in interviewing our junior school applicants. Indeed, we don't have a compulsory interview step as part of our application assessment for any student except for our high school applicants. That's where we do interview students, and also for any boarding applicants. So that's grade 8 and above. So for junior school, grades 2, 3, 4, and 5, as a reminder, the types of assessments that may come up, we are actually this year, we've just changed our process for those whose first language is not English, so English language learners. In the past, we used to put all students who were English language learners through an assessment as part of the application review process, but we have decided to get rid of that from this year. But that doesn't mean that we don't have guidelines for the students who may be able to thrive in our learning program. There is an expectation of a certain level of English proficiency and exposure. And we've given you quite a lot of detail about our expectations on our website. So I would really encourage families to look through that. I think my colleague, Kate Woodford, will be able to place the link to our EAL guidelines page into the chat. So do look out for that there. In terms of other assessments, if a child has some learning needs that have already been identified, and you, as in your application, let us know about that, because we do ask families to share information about any learning needs their child may have, then typically we would invite your child to come in for for an assessment by our learning support team. And then based on that assessment, we will know what kind of support your child may need to learn successfully in our learning program and environment. So that is typically the assessment that you can expect. And for learning needs, we will need that assessment to be done in person for children for whom that is appropriate. Sometimes, even if there isn't a diagnosed learning need that you have let us know about, there may be indicators from other information in the application, such as school reports, which when we request our educational team to review, they may feel, you know what, we'd prefer to assess this child and just get a better understanding. So that might also involve an assessment. So I hope that has answered the question about the types of assessment.
Thank you very much, Malika. And Ashu, we have a family asking whether we have a wait list system for our admissions process. I wonder whether you can give us a little bit more information about that.
Thank you, Katie. I'm happy to enlighten people that we do not have wait lists. We have an annual application cycle. So always our applications will open 1 year in advance of the point of entry you're looking at. So if you're looking at August 2023 as your entry point, then applications are currently open all the way up to term 2 entry, which is January 2024. We will review applications and place them in what we call a waiting pool, which means that before we make our offers, they will be, once they met the entrance criteria, etc., they were part of this waiting pool, and we select from this waiting pool to make offers. So there is a waiting pool, but not a wait list. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashu. And just staying with you, we have another question about the likelihood of the timeline of when offers will be made. So you've just mentioned applicants are in this applicant pool, and I wonder whether you can just give an indication to this family about when they're likely to receive an offer for a junior school application.
Sure, happy to enlighten on that aspect also. We have 2 offer rounds. The first offer round for K1 to grade 8 applicants will be in December, and the second offer round will be in March. And subsequent to that, we will have, as and when we get to know of late leaver spaces, we will offer those places out in between May to June. There is a little caveat to be considered in the first round of offers. To have your applications considered in the first round of offers, you need to submit them well before the 4th of November deadline for the first round of offers. Then for the second round of offers, the deadline is the 3rd of February. But having said that, we are not, we do not say that, yes, we'll be able to offer all those people who submit the applications in time for the first round. There may be some additional information that we'll be seeking, or there may be some assessment, like Malika said, that we may require to do, or a review of their additional reports that they may get in during that term for semester 1, etc. So in that sense, we could be considering them in round 2. It's a rolling round. It is not something that you have to reapply again for, but we tend to offer about 50% of the places in round 1. So you're very much in the pool for the next round if you're not considered in the first round. The applications do close by December 2023 if we have not been able to offer your children a place even for January 2024, which is our term 2 entry. And term 2 offers are made in October. So this would be the kind of thing that you'd see year on year. And these timelines are published on our website. So you can see that under the Make an Application page. Thank you.
Can I just add on? Just eligible applicants requiring English as an additional language or learning support. Those applicants are most likely to be considered for an offer in round 2.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Maria.
And I'm going to jump on that. This has become an impossibly long answer between the 3 of us, so my apologies. But again, just so that families are aware, the reason that we typically make offers for those who may need to be in our EAL program or who may need learning support, the reason we typically can only consider them for offers in our round 2 offer round is because that's when we know what our space availability looks like. If there are additional support needs. So that is the reason. Now, because all of this was a lot of information, I'd just like to remind our audience that we went into a lot of this information in our Admissions Explained webinar. So again, I want to encourage you to review that because this is a lot of information to take in, but it is all there. So please have a look at that recorded webinar, which is now on our website. Thanks.
And adding on to that, Malika, the timeline information is published in the website, so parents can get access to it easily.
Thank you all for answering that question. Maria, let's stay with you. We have a family that is interested in applying for year 4. So I guess that means grade 3 in our system. They would like the child to start in August of 2024. Could you give this family an indication of when they can start the application process?
Sure. As my colleague Ashu did mention, that UWC runs on an annual application cycle. So the application is now open for those who are interested for the 2023-24 application cycle. So for this family who's interested only for August 2024, you are most welcome to submit the online application from 1st September of 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And Malika, I hope you have your figures ready for this question. We have a family inquiring about how many vacancies or expected vacancies that we might be looking for a grade 1 and a grade 2 child for 2023.
Okay, I do have my figures ready, but I want to, before I mention specific numbers, I think the important caveat that I want families listening to my answer to remember is that all numbers that we can give you about anticipated spaces at this point is a bit of guesswork, and that's because we operate on the basis of a predicted number of leaver places, and that can only be a prediction. We will not know our actual leaver numbers until later. So at this stage, we are anticipating approximately 36 places for grade 1, and somewhere between 30 and 35 places for the remaining grades of primary school. So that's grades 2, 3, 4, and 5. All of that was with respect to the Dover campus, since today's webinar is focused on Dover Junior School. The numbers are similar for East Campus for grades 1, 2, and 4. However, for grades 3 and 5 on the East Campus, we do anticipate lower numbers, somewhere between 10 and 15 places for each of those grades. And that's because we don't add new class sections for grades 3 and 5 at East Campus, whereas we do for the Dover campus. Again, just a reminder, these numbers and these bar charts that I'm reading off right now are part of the Admissions Explained webinar, which is recorded and available for you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Malika. And Ashu, another question about admission with regards to a reapplicant on this occasion. So if unfortunately a child did not get an offer to start in August and didn't get an offer to start in January, can they reapply for the next academic year as a reapplicant? And are there any preferences given to a reapplicant in our admissions process?
Yes, thank you. So since, if you have been able to see our Admissions Explained webinar, or if you have read up on our website, we typically tend to have 3 applications per place. So, which does mean that there are more applications than the number of places. And sadly, some families do get disappointed that they haven't received an offer for that year. So yes, we do encourage you to reapply. If not 1 year, you typically will tend to get, if you meet the entrance criteria, etc., we will be mindful that you had applied before. We'll keep your application history and we will try to make sure or to ensure that you get a space, if not the 2nd year, at least on the 3rd year, but let's hope it doesn't come to that. But yes, we do consider your application history. We keep that in the pool, and the reapplication process is actually quite simple. You just need to log back into your application and select reapplying for the August 2023 academic year if you're looking to reapply for 2023. Otherwise, once applications open in September 2024, that's the time you can actually even put a reapply at that time if your application for August 2023 was not successful for either of the 2 points of entry, that's August or January. Malika, do you want to add anything to this?
I think the important thing for families who may be reapplying to know is that we value your continued interest in the college, and we certainly give special consideration to reapplicants. We can't guarantee an offer, having said that. So we follow our normal practice of looking at the diversity of our current cohorts and how we can complement that student body when we have an opportunity to offer places to new students joining the current community. So it isn't a guarantee, but we certainly pay attention to the fact that somebody has applied previously and remain interested in the college.
Thank you both. And to stay with you, Malika, we have a family who has applied as a dual applicant, which means they've applied both for Dover and for East Campus. The family is asking, do they choose which campus they will like to get their offer from?
Okay, thank you for that question. So the answer is no. The family does not choose which campus which campus you can get an offer for. We make that decision, and we make that decision because we're juggling a lot of different things when determining which students from our eligible applicant pool we can offer places to. Often there are considerations around multiple siblings applying at the same time, and so do we have spaces for the siblings in one campus or in the other campus? We're looking at the various kinds of diversity within each campus community as well, both in terms of the whole campus as well as the specific grades of entry. And so we make that decision, and then a dual campus applicant who is made an offer for their children will receive offers. Now, we don't offer different campuses to different siblings. So you will, as a family, be placed, if we can offer places, your children will be placed on the same campus. One important thing I want to mention is that applying as a dual applicant means that you are telling us you're equally interested in a place at either of our campuses. Families do have the option to tell us if they prefer one campus or another. And then we will try our best to offer you your preferred campus if you have made that clear. But to be honest, if you have a very strong campus preference, then actually we would strongly recommend applying just to your preferred campus. And that is because once you accept an offer of admission, that becomes your child's campus for the duration of their time at UWC. So we do not permit campus transfers. And I think it's important for families to keep this in mind when deciding whether they prefer to apply to a single campus or to both our campuses. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Malika. And if I can just stay with you for this next question, Malika, I think we might have confused one of our families just very slightly. When we talked about the application deadline, I think we may have indicated by applying well before the application deadline might mean that we have a quota of how many applications we can take by an application deadline. I wonder whether you can just give a little bit more information about how those deadline works.
Sure. I'm sorry if we confused anyone, first of all. So our application deadlines mean that we will consider your child for the respective offer round. So for example, November 4th is our application deadline for our first offer round. That means if you have submitted a complete application by that deadline with all the required documents that we need, then yes, your child can be considered for an offer in that first offer round. Similarly, if you submit an application in time for our second deadline, which is February 3rd, then your child can be considered for the second offer round. Now, I think the important thing, the caveat, which we mentioned earlier, is that for those who may need additional English language support or learning support, typically those applicants will be considered for offers in our second offer round, even if you met our first round application deadline. And we do let you know about this on the website as well. When ASHU encouraged families to apply well before the deadline, it does not mean that it's first come, first served. We do not operate a system of making offers, according to when you submitted your application in that sense. But we encourage you to not wait till the very last minute to put in an application, because then the chances are that we might have to be chasing you for some missing information if you rushed it through to make a deadline. And that is why we're encouraging families to apply well before a deadline. But it is the deadline that ensures that your application is considered for each offer round. I hope that clarifies things.
It certainly does. Thank you very much, Malika, for that. And Maria, we have a question from a family who are planning to relocate to Singapore later this year. But they're not sure, it's not 100% certain yet that the relocation will take place. If they do get an offer in the first round, are they able to decline that offer and remain in the applicant pool for a second round offer?
Yes, they are most welcome to decline the first day offer. And the decline of the offer for the first round will allow the parents to give us an indication that they would like to be considered in the second round of offers. Or subsequently, if they say, right, fine, I'm not happy, I'm not able to be considered for the first term of entry or at United World College, either East or Dover, they can inform the admissions officer that they would like to remain in the pool for term 2, that will be for January 2024. However, if it's going to be a place available for term 2, we'll only contact successful families in October, because that's the deadline where our current community will have to give us notice of withdrawal for those children not coming back in term 2. So there are options available, but however, if a place does become available for term 2, and they decline, that application will not be able to be rolled over to the next application cycle. They have to start a reapplication, submitting all the required documents again, update the application, and also pay another application fee, which is non-refundable. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that clarity, Maria. We have another inquiry from a family. Malika, I'm going to ask you to answer this one. We have a family whose daughter holds a dual passport, and one of those passports is a Singapore passport. I wonder whether you can give this family a little bit more information about whether they can apply to Uwcsea SEA.
Certainly. So for anyone who has a Singapore passport, Singapore citizenship, regardless of whether they are dual nationals or not, it is the Singapore passport that determines your eligibility to be considered or not. And unfortunately, we do have quite strict restrictions on which students, which applicants we can consider if they have Singapore citizenship. So we do have information on our website, which I would strongly encourage this family and any others in this situation to take a look at. We do have to have priority categories of students from whom we can consider, and that includes staff children, it includes children of alumni, and it includes siblings of current students whom we can consider, children and siblings of alumni, I should have said, as well as siblings of current students whom we can consider if they are Singapore citizens. I'm afraid that for any other student who holds Singapore national citizenship, we are not able to consider them for admission because of our college policies. I would like to clarify that Singapore citizens require what is called an MOE waiver, a Ministry of Education waiver, in order to attend an international school such as ours. The policies about whom we will consider or not those are devised by each international school. So this may look different. The fact that you cannot be considered by UWC does not automatically imply that another international school may not be able to consider your child for admission. So the families really do need to check individually with different schools what their policies are. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Malika. And our very last question, Maria, I'm going to throw this one to you. This family's child will need a student pass if they were to join us. I wonder whether you can help this family with a little bit of information about whether we support that and what the process is.
Yes, both campuses do support the student pass application. And when a child is being accepted, and at the point of enrollment, a colleague of ours will be helping the family with the process of the student pass application. So, however, the applications for new students joining us in August, apparently the process will only start in June. So the application for the student pass is separate from the current student pass that the child holds. So the current child's student pass, say for example, the child is at one international school, currently holding a student pass, it is non-transferable to UwCSE. So a new application will have to be made, and our colleague who handles these passes will then be in contact with the families sometime early June to get it processed. So if there's any information, then obviously he will be connected with the colleague of ours who will be happy to assist the family as possible. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, can I just add something? For those children who are currently holding a long-term visit pass, that does not allow you to study at United World College. The family will have to apply for a student pass. Thank you.
Thank you for that important piece of information, Maria. Thank you. So we're out of time now. Malika, I'd like to pass back to you to close this session.
Thank you, Katie. I'd like to thank my colleagues, but most of all, I'd like to thank our audience who have spent valuable time in the middle of their day, well, possibly in the middle of your day or early hours of your day or late hours of your day, depending on where you've joined us from today. Thanks a lot for spending time exploring UWC with us some more today. We hope you've enjoyed learning a lot about our Dover Infant School Junior School program, my apologies. And if you are signed up to visit the campus for our on-campus open day this Friday, showcasing the Dover Junior School, we very much look forward to seeing you there. Thank you again and enjoy the rest of your day.